Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. We are continuing our studies in a work entitled al-Aqeedah al-Waasitiyyah, entitled the Creed of al-Wasit, as has been authored by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. May Allah the Exalted bestow expansive mercy upon his soul, as Ibn Taymiyyah passes in what year? Barakallahu feekum. He passes in the year 728 Anno Hijri, after the Hijrah. And Ibn Taymiyyah, the author, his first name is what? I can guarantee his first name is not Ibn. Barakallahu feekum. Ahmed. We want to ask for his father's name this week, though. But his name is Ahmed. Barakallahu feekum. So we have entered into the section that is entitled Al-Imanu bima wasafa Allahu bi nafsahu fi kitabihi. Having iman, having faith in what Allah has described himself with in his book. So we are looking at the qualities of Allah, the attributes of Allah that he has named himself with inside of the Quran. Inside of the Quran. And the wisdom, the rhyme and reason, as it were, as to why we are examining Allah's names and attributes, we discussed in previous classes. And also what we're looking to glean from this discussion, we discussed in previous classes. So we are examining a plethora of verses in this regard, and our exercise is to read a verse and extract the attribute of Allah from the verse. We follow the exercise? Okay. We had a practice lesson last week, and we only took 2 verses. So now that we had our practice lesson, we're going to pick up the pace somewhat. And he, the glorious, he is stated in the chapter Tahrim, verse number 3. The chapter Tahrim, verse number 3. Al-Alim al-Hakim. Al-Alim al-Hakim. The all-knowledgeable, the all-wise. Which attributes do we see here in this verse? Surah Tahrim, verse number 3. Tahrim? Good. Let's help each other out. What number chapter is Surah Tahrim?
66.
Ibrahim says 66. Let's see what everybody comes up with. We'll roll the dice with you. The proverbial dice, not the real ones, all right? Okay. Verse number 3, Al-Alim al-Hakim, the all-wise, the all-knowledgeable, the all-wise. So which attributes do we see there?
Knowledge and wisdom.
Good. Knowledge and wisdom is correct. So where do you see wisdom? Where do you see knowledge and where do you see wisdom?
You mean where in the verse do you see knowledge and wisdom?
Yes. Where are you extracting that from?
All wise.
What proves that? So the name Al-Hakim, the all-wise, proves? The wisdom. Good. So from Allah's name Al-Hakim, we understand the attributes of Al-Hikmah, wisdom, but also Al-Hukm, the right of rule. The right of law. We understand this from his name Al-Hakim as well. It's not only wisdom. Okay? What is wisdom? What is wisdom? Yes.
Wisdom is when you understand knowledge.
When you understand knowledge.
When you understand how to take action on knowledge.
Okay. So, what you're saying is, knowledge is one level. But knowing something is one level. The next level is having proper understanding of that knowledge. But you're referring to a third level above that, which is wisdom, which in your example will be knowing when, how, and to what extent to apply that understanding of that knowledge. Okay? Ibn Qayyim, may Allah bestow mercy upon us soul, he mentions that hikmah, wisdom is فعل ما ينبغي على وجه الذي ينبغي في وقت الذي ينبغي. To do what is appropriate in a manner that is appropriate at a time that is appropriate. That is wisdom. Wisdom is to do what is appropriate in a manner that is appropriate at a time that is appropriate.
This is who?
Ibn Qayyim, may Allah have mercy upon his soul. We want to ask his first name today. Barakallahu feekum. And that definition of hikmah, of wisdom, is a benefit from our Shaykh Talib Abdullah, may Allah preserve him. The next, as for al-ilm, we understand this from the name al-alim. Al-alim, the all-knowledgeable. We understand from the name all-knowledgeable the attribute of ilm, the attribute of knowledge. We will not go into such detail with every single verse, but just to get us started. What is ilm? What is knowledge? So we define wisdom, but we understand that knowledge comes before wisdom, right? So what is knowledge? Having understanding of something, good.
Put a thing in its proper. To put a thing in its proper place.
To put a thing in its proper place, good. That is also what you stated as the definition for al-adl, the definition for justice. To be aware. Good, good. To be cognizant. Good. To be conscious.
Woke. Say woke.
Hashtag stay woke. Okay. Good. So we can offer some definitions for knowledge. Definition 1. Naqir al-jahl. The opposite of ignorance. The opposite of ignorance. As the verse in poetry states, وَبِدِدِّهَا تَتَبَيُّنُ الْأَشْيَاءِ. And by looking at the opposite of something, by examining the opposite of a thing, the thing itself becomes more lucid. The thing itself becomes clearer. We can define knowledge as إِدْرَاكُ الشَّيْءِ عَلَى مَا هُوَ عَلَيْهِ إِدْرَاكٍ جَازِمٍ. To perceive a thing adamantly in accordance with its reality. To perceive a thing adamantly, with certainty. To perceive a thing adamantly in accordance with its reality. What are we talking about? We'll strike the example that we always strike. If we were to lift this in front of you, you would tell me that this is it's a pen, right? Good. What am I doing with this pen? I'm holding this pen. Yes? If I let this pen go, what is going to happen? It's going to drop, huh? It's going to fall. Good. That's your perception. Is that reality? Has it happened yet? Hasn't happened yet, so it's not reality yet. That's your perception. Right? There's a difference between perception and reality. Right now, we're at the level of your perception. Do you have any doubt that it's going to drop? If I let it go, is it going to fly away? In your perception. No? You don't sound too,
No, not fly away.
Huh?
You said it's going to fly away. I don't think.
Like upwards, Go upward, maybe levitate through the roof. Is that what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to fall, it's going to drop, right? Good. You have any doubt on that?
No.
Good. To perceive a thing adamantly. To perceive a thing with certainty. And your adamant perception is in alignment with reality. So now we let the pen go, and what happened? That's reality. So your perception matched reality. That's ilm. When your perception matches reality. Okay? Now, when your perception conflicts with reality, that is jahl. That's ignorance. When your perception conflicts with reality, that is ignorance. Sometimes you perceive a thing, and you perceive that thing with certainty. But reality is something different than what you have perceived. That's ignorance. Ignorance is not always blameworthy. Ignorance is of different types. So you have ignorance, al-jahl al-basit, slight ignorance. And to be succinct, slight ignorance is when you know that you don't know. So because you know that you don't know, you will seek out knowledge of what you don't know. And you will respect your own limitations. As the ancient Muslims would say, رحم الله امرأ عرف قدر نفسه فوقف عند قدره. May Allah bestow mercy upon the person that knows his limitations and halts at his limitations.
That's poetry. That's the statement of the.
Statement of the Salaf.
Say it one more time.
May Allah bestow mercy upon the person. May Allah bestow mercy upon the person who knows his limitations, and halts at his limitations. Good. So this is jahl al-basit. This is slight ignorance. But then we have something else called jahl al-murakkab. Al-jahl al-murakkab. Compound ignorance. Ignorance compounded. Compounded ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know. But you think that you know. And others know that you don't know. Yet you act like you know. That's compounded ignorance. Okay? So to be simplistic, compounded ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know. Compounded ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know.
Which half is the others and what? What's the first one?
You want the first one, huh? I don't know if I can say that twice. Huh? So, compounded ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know. But you think that you do know. Right? So because you don't know that you don't know, you're acting as though you know. But you don't. And when you act like you know when you don't know, others will clearly see that you don't know. Good. So moving forward to our next verse. The chapter Saba, verse number 2. The chapter Saba, verse number 2. يَعْلَمُ مَا يَرْجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا وَمَا يَنْزِلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَمَا يَعْرُجُ فِيهَا. He has knowledge of what enters into the earth and what is extracted from the earth, what exits from it, and what descends from the heaven, and what ascends to and through it. He has knowledge of what enters into the earth and what exits from it, and what descends from the heaven and what ascends to and through it. Which attribute? Which attribute of Allah do we see in this verse? We'll say it again.
Al-Alim.
I think someone said it, huh?
Al-Alim.
Al-Alim. Good. Ilm, knowledge, right? Ya'lamu. He has knowledge. He knows. Right? Good. Next verse. Surah Al-An'am, verse 59. The chapter An'am, verse 59. وعنده مفاتيح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. With him are the keys of the unseen. Again, it's the chapter An'am, verse 59. An'am, verse 59. With him are the keys of the unseen. None has knowledge of it except him. He has knowledge of what is upon land and sea. And there is no leaf that falls except that he has knowledge of it. And not a seed in the darkness of the earth. And there is nothing that is moist or dry except that it is in a book manifest. Which attribute? Knowledge. Ilm. Same page, right? You see it? So in this exercise, we are exploring a new way to look at the verses of the Quran. So when you're reading a verse, now you can look at the verse with different perspectives. One such perspective is the perspective we're utilizing now, reading verses to extract the attributes of Allah.
You said it was ayah 59?
I have 59 here. You may have it different.
Yes, 659.
659. There are 659 verses in An'am?
659.
Yeah, chapter An'am, right?
Yeah.
It's the 6th chapter, verse 59. Right? All right, we're on the same page, right? You're not there? No? Okay, we won't ask where you were. Huh?
I think it helped to get the numbers, the numbers for those.
It's part of the exercise.
It's
It's part of the exercise. We want to get used to the Quran. All right, by the time we finish going through this, you'll be familiar with more chapters than maybe you were, as far as where they're placed in the Quran. Good. And just as a benefit, since we're mentioning this, what you do learn as you study the sciences of the Quran is that the verses themselves are tawfiqi. The verses themselves, they come from Allah. That's obvious, right? And the arrangement of the verses, the order the verses have been placed in, are from Allah. Because as the Quran was being revealed, was it revealed in the order of chapter 1 through chapter 114? No. Right? Yet, in the complete Quran as we have it, it is laid out from chapters 1 through chapters 114. Correct? Good. So, in one chapter, did not necessarily come down all at once. It may have come in pieces here, pieces there, right? Like the first verse to have been revealed was what? Iqra, Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who has created. Yes? Good. And this is what chapter of the Quran? Surah Al-Alaq. Good. Since we're doing numbers, which number? Everyone should know this. It's an easy one. Surah Al-Alaq, the chapter entitled the blood clot, also called Surah Iqra, the chapter read. Not chapter 93 plus 3. Chapter 96. Good. It's chapter 96. Okay. So, but just 5 verses were revealed here, right? The rest of the chapter came later. What was the first chapter to be revealed in whole? From beginning to end? No. Keep going. Don't be discouraged. Keep going. Huh? Ikhlas. Muddathir. Right? Because after Surah Al-Alaq, those 5 verses were revealed. Some time passes, scholars say different things with the gap in time, but we'll say 2 weeks, okay? Then Surah Al-Mudaththir is revealed in whole. So Surah Al-Mudaththir is the first chapter to be revealed as a whole chapter. Okay, our point. Mudaththir? 74. I'm supposed to be quizzing you all, not quizzing me, right? So, okay, yes.
I have a question. So, I know it's probably a long discussion, but the ordering of all the chapters in the Quran, is that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or is that companion?
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good. So we're coming. Okay? So, the order that the verses are revealed in a given chapter are tawfiqi, is your term. Is premised upon revelation from Allah. Right? The order of the verses. Okay? 1. 2. The order that the chapters come in. Also, tawfiqi, revelation from Allah. By evidence that you are familiar with. Just some years before the passing of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during the month of Ramadan, what would the angel Jibreel do with the messenger of Allah? He will review the Quran. So the order that the angel Jibreel alayhi salam will review the Quran in with the messenger of Allah to the end of his life was the order of the Quran that we have now. That's the evidence for that. Okay? Good. And the names of the chapters of the Quran are tawfiqi. They are also premised upon revelation from Allah. Yes.
But in that verse where the verse where people just there's a discussion as to what name it should be.
Well, that doesn't negate the fact that there are chapters that have more than one name. Okay? There are chapters that have more than one name. Now, as for the additional names that a chapter may be given, it's possible that a chapter colloquially may have become known by a given name. But there is a name that has been revealed by Allah for every chapter. Same page? Okay. Moving forward. Surah Al-Fatir, verse number 11. The chapter Fatir, verse number 11. وَمَا تَحْمِلُ مِنْ أُنْثَى وَلَا تَدْعُ إِلَّا بِعِلْمِهِ. And there is no female, there is no woman who becomes impregnated or who delivers her load except by way of his ilm, except by way of his knowledge. Which attribute is here of Allah? Ilm, knowledge. Pretty straightforward, right? Good. So we get in the hand exercise, right? Good. Moving forward.
The last three have all been knowledge.
So far. Surah Talaq, verse number 12. The chapter Talaq, verse number 12. A hint for you, this chapter should not be that far away from the chapter Tahrim. So if you found Tahrim, you can find Talaq. The chapter Talaq, verse number 12. لِتَعْلَمُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. So that you all can know that Allah is able to do all things, and that He encompasses everything by way of His knowledge, and He envelops everything by way of His knowledge. What attribute do we see there of Allah? Ilm, knowledge, right? Good. You see anything else? Yes.
I don't know the exact word, but khalaq, he created, his ability to create.
Okay, good. And we also have, I'll offer this one, Qadir. His ability. His ability we also see here. Moving forward. The chapter Dhariyat, verse 58. The chapter Dhariyat, or Dhariyat, verse 58. Inna Allah huwa razaqu dhu quwwatil mateen. And Allah is al-Razaq. He is the provider, and He possesses firm strength. And He possesses firm strength, firm power. It's possible that your word of choice for mateen may be different than mine. What word do you have there for mateen? What's the description, the adjective for knowledge, for strength that you see there in the verse?
Most strong, they have owner of power.
Huh?
The verily Allah, the all provider, owner of power, and most strong.
And more strong? So that
The most strong.
so they double translated. Okay. Who is firm in strength, or firm in His power, powerful in His strength, however you would like to interpret that. Dhariyat, verse 58. So what attributes do we see here? All powerful. Allah's al-Qawi. right? He has power. The attribute of power, right? Also, al-Razaq, you see al-Rizq, right? You see provision. Allah provides. We see this as well, right? Good.
The name of the attribute for risk is, what's the name for the actual attribute name?
The name of the attribute for risk is risk.
Is it al-Risk or it's just risk?
Risk. Provision.
So when you're saying Allah's name, the attribute, you wouldn't add an L or a definite noun to, you would just say risk, and that everyone knows.
You said the attribute, or you saying the name?
the name. Sorry.
The name al-Razaq.
Al-Razaq.
Or if you like al-Raziq. Either one. Al-Razaq or al-Raziq.
Is that strong?
No. Al-Razaq speaks to provision. Allah providing. Al-Quwwa. Al-Qawi is strength. Strength. So some brothers like the name Abdul Qawi, right? Abdul Qawi, right? The servant of the one that is powerful and strong, right? That's strength. The chapter Shura, verse number 11. The chapter Shura, verse number 11. Laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. In this verse we've had before and we discussed in detail, so this one shouldn't be new. And there is nothing like unto his likeness, and he is the all-hearer and the all-seer. What attributes do we see there? Sami', so which is what? Which attribute? Hearing. Yes, keep going. What? Sight. So hearing and sight. Yes? So as we go through this, we're learning the qualities of Allah.
What ayat was that?
11. The chapter short of verse number 11. So, it is by way of, we'll repeat this, it is by way of the attributes of Allah that we begin to understand who our Lord is. And by way of understanding who our Lord is, this allows us to build a relationship with Him, because to the exclusion of that, how can you build a relationship with someone who you do not know? This is why we learn Allah's names and we learn His attributes from a spiritual perspective, so that we can build a viable relationship with our Lord, because we know Him. So because we know that He is strong, we know that we can garner His support when we are weak. Because He provides, we know that He is providing for us and we will have our proper due. Because He hears everything, there is nothing that we say except that He hears it. He sees everything, so there's nothing that we do in public or private except that He sees it. And you start thinking and believing this way, in this way throughout your daily life. So your relationship with Allah becomes a constant. You follow? From the time that you wake to the time that you sleep again. You are in the state of God consciousness, because you're becoming aware of His names and His attributes in this type of a fashion. You follow? Furthermore, you understand that His qualities are qualities of perfection. So you, on a humanistic level, on an imperfect, deficient level, when you embody these qualities, it makes you a more complete human being. Our Lord is strong. So when you are a strong person, it makes you a more holistic person. You follow? Allah provides. So when you provide, that makes you a better person. Right? Thus and so. This is how we interact with the names and attributes of Allah. Again, it's not meant to be just a listing of words that you place the in front of them, and then that's your entire experience with Allah's in names and attributes. That's not the purpose. The purpose is what we're saying now. We follow? Okay, moving forward. In Nisa, verse 58. In Nisa, verse 58. Inna Allah دعما يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا. How excellent is what Allah exhorts you to do. Certainly Allah hears and sees. This one is pretty straightforward. What attributes do you see here? Good. Hearing, seeing. Yes? Okay, good. So, now that we can add 1 plus 1, let's multiply a little bit. Raise the level up. You ready? Gonna power up. Next level. Al-Kahf, verse 39. Al-Kahf, verse 39. وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. And only if, when you had entered into the garden, you said, مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ, what Allah had willed, or what Allah wills. There is no power except by Allah. Your floor. Ability, good. Keep going. Quwwa. So power, right? Strength, good. Which we could relate ability to that. Good. Anything else you see?
I see
Mercy. His will. His will, right? Only if when you had entered into the garden, you said, Masha Allah, what Allah had willed. So will is from the attributes of Allah. Right? Will is from the attributes of Allah. R.E.D.A. R.E.D.A. Will. R.E.D.A. And just for your benefit, whenever there is any action that takes place, no action can take place except that 3 are present. No action can take place except that 3 are present. Ilm, knowledge of how to do it. Qudra, ability. You have to be capable of doing it. 3, irada, will. You have to want to do it. If any one of those 3 are missing, you won't have an action. I'll wait for it.
Which is one of the reasons in the secular world why when a crime is committed, it's important for them to attach a motive. Because the psychologists have said that you need a will to do something.
You need a will to do something. Right. Good. Moving forward. And Fadal.
Allah said irada is Allah's will. What's the actual name?
I don't know of a name for irada. I don't know of a name for it that I can think of off the top of my head.
So when Allah has attributes and names, there are some attributes you have that don't have a name attached to it.
Correct. A yad, his hand. Right? This goes back to our earlier principle. We're seeing it in practice now. Every name of Allah is indicative of an attribute of Allah. But not necessarily does every attribute of Allah indicate a name.
That's
right?
Is that pertaining to when Allah says He has many names, attributes that He hasn't revealed that we don't know about? Would that be?
Well, no, because these are ones that we do know about. Yes, but there are others that He has not informed us of. Right? So among scholarship, amongst theologians, they have determined close to 300 names of Allah that they have extracted from the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay? So this would mean, based on what you're saying, and it is true, that beyond that almost 300 names, Allah has other names beyond that He has not informed this ummah of, that He's not informed this nation of. It's possible that He informed previous nations of some of those names, and it's possible that He did not. Right? One possibility, although we cannot say this with certainty, is al-Ab, the father. For example, that possibility is there, but we can't say that with certainty.
Right, because He said toward Adam and everything that we were talking
So we keep kind of
let's get back.
we no. Well, the verse referring to in al-Baqarah, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, and he taught Adam the names of all things, right? Which this particular verse bears different meanings from the meanings that this verse contains. Is that he taught Adam the names of all things that were present with Adam at that time. From its meanings is that he taught Adam all languages. Okay, that he taught Adam all languages, which with this exegesis, with this meaning, this tafsir, this then positions the understanding that all language in their origin comes from Allah. In their origin, all language comes from Allah, based on this verse, because he taught Adam the names or the languages of all things. Okay? There is another position of the Mu'tazila, that all language comes from the creation independent of Allah, but this is an incorrect standpoint in theology. Okay? All right, moving forward. Al-Baqarah, verse 253. Al-Baqarah, verse 253. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات ولكن اختلفوا. If Allah had willed, those who came after them would not have fought after the clear evidences came to them. However, they did differ. 253. Al-Baqarah 253. فَمِنْهُمْ مِنْ آمَنْ وَمِنْهُمْ مِنْ كَفَرَ. So amongst them are those who believed, those who had iman, faith, spirituality. And from them are those who disbelieved. And from them are those who covered and suppressed their iman. Because that is what kufr is. That is what disbelief is. It is to cover and suppress what is naturally inside of the soul of the human being. You follow that? Okay. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَلَلُوا. And if Allah had willed, they would not have fought. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يُرِيدُ. However, Allah does whatever He wills. What attribute do we see here? Huh? Ir.A, the will of Allah. Huh?
Spell that word.
Ir.A.
Spelled it R.E.D.A.
We can work with that.
I know what it is. I don't want to, somebody,
Yeah, I'm with you. You got a safety net. Alhamdulillah. We're right here. Al-Ma'idah, verse number 1. Al-Ma'idah, verse number 1. أُحِلَّتْ لَكُمْ بَهِيمَةُ الْأَنْعَامِ إِلَّا مَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْكُمْ غَيْرَ مُحَلِّيَ الصَّيْدِ وَأَنْتُمْ حُرُمٌ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَحْكَمُ مَا يُرِيدُ. Permitted for you. Let's see if we're on the same page. Who has the verse? I've been speaking a lot, so let's hear from you all. Yes.
In English.
In English.
Oh, you will believe, fulfill the contracts, the animals from the cattle have been made lawful for you.
Good. The cattle have been made lawful for you. Good, except
That which shall be read over to you, provided that you do not treat hunting as lawful while you are in Ihram. Surely Allah ordains what He wills.
good. Everyone heard that? We need to read it again. Same page?
Yes.
Good. What attribute do we see there?
Ir.A.
Ir.A. Good. There's another. Huh? Okay, let's look at it. What do you see? Risk. Closer. Ordainment. Ordainment. We can go with that. Right? Inna Allah yahkumu. Certainly Allah, He judges. He ordains. He puts into law. This is an attribute of Allah. Al-Hukm. Yes? Okay. An'am, verse 125.
So what was the name?
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
What was the attribute for that particular?
Al-Ma'idah, verse 1?
Yes.
2. Right? You have law, right? Ordainment. I like that word better.
Okay.
Right? Ordainment. Right? From hukm. And then you have irada, will. These are attributes.
He's saying hukum for ordainment. But I guess hukum could also have several meanings, law, all that stuff.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Yes. So we're saying with that context.
Got it.
Right. Good. An'am, verse 125. An'am, verse 125. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُدِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ.
You say R.E.D.A?
Huh?
What sword you said?
An'am, 125. An'am, 125. Whoever finds it first, feel free to read it. We'll engage, be more interactive. Yes.
So whomsoever Allah wills to guide,
Whoever Allah wills to guide,
He makes his heart wide open for Islam.
He makes his heart wide open for Islam.
And
Expands his chest.
And whomsoever He wills to let go astray,
And whoever He wills to let go astray,
He makes his heart straight and constricted.
He makes his heart, his chest straight and constricted. May Allah protect us.
And it has in parentheses, and He feels embracing Islam as difficult,
Mm-hmm.
as if He were climbing to the sky.
As if He was climbing into the sky, ascending upward into the sky. So, if you are from more flat land, right? Or you're near lowland that's nearer to the shore because we're near the water here, right? When you go inland somewhat, you're going to eventually get into some mountainous terrain at some point, right? You start to go up the mountain. As you ascend into higher heights, what begins to happen?
Breath starts to restrict. It's hard to get oxygen.
It becomes more difficult for you to breathe, right? Good. So this is the parable that's being struck here. Unless the people that are living up there normally, they get used to the type of air and the pressure and that type of thing. But for us just going up there, you're going to initially feel some discomfort, some restriction in your chest. You follow? This is a description of what being misguided can be like. Okay? So what attributes do we see here? Go ahead. Irada. Good. The will of Allah. Allah's will. Good. You said? Guide. Right. Allah guides. Right? Allah guides. Right? And guidance is under His will to guide whomever He so chooses. Good. Good observation. Al-Baqarah 195. Al-Baqarah 195. Maybe we'll make this our last one. وَأَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And be beautiful. Certainly Allah loves those who are beautiful. That's not what your translation is going to say. Ihsan. Ihsan. So practice ihsan. Certainly Allah loves the people who practice ihsan. What's your word choice that you have in front of you?
I got it. And spending the cause of Allah, he said, so 195, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're looking at, so these verses, it's not the entire verse we're looking at. We're looking at the shahid, the focal point of the verse. We're looking at the portion of the verse that proves what we're trying to say. You follow? But go ahead. Go ahead, read the verse.
What I'm taking, talking about people being extravagant, being wasteful.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says, and spend in the cause of Allah, jihad of all kind, and do not throw yourselves into destruction by not spending your wealth in the cause of Allah, and do good. Truly Allah loves al-Muslimin, the good doers.
Good, the muhsineen. So they chose the good doers. So wait, say the last part of the verse again, the last sentence.
It says, by not, that part,
Go ahead.
by not spending your wealth in the cause of Allah, and do good.
Do good. So they chose to say do good. All right. I said be beautiful. All right. For reasons. For reasons. So the word is ihsan, huh? The word is ihsan. Ihsan. Yes. Huh? Ihsan? Well, that was going to be my question. So we're going to speak about ihsan. But first we want to affirm the attribute that is here. What attribute do we see in this verse? Right? And be beautiful. Certainly Allah loves people who are beautiful, who practice beauty.
He's not talking
Love. Love. Mahabba. So Allah loves. So we need to know that Allah loves.
Is this not the same thing as Fadul?
Different. So Allah loves. And we understand from this that love is a quality of perfection. You see that? Allah's attributes are perfect, are they not? So love is a quality of perfection. So when the human being employs love, you become a more holistic human being.
You're not soft?
Well,
Like,
Christians were actually on to something when they say God is love. See?
so Muhammad, that would be an attribute.
It is an attribute. Correct. It is an attribute. Okay? Good. As for ihsan, where have we heard the word ihsan before? In texts of Quran and Sunnah. We'll be more particular. In Sunnah, in the Hadith. Where have you come across the word ihsan? Huh? In ta'bud Allah. كأنك تراه وإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. Good. So that's the answer. What was the question?
Where we heard Ihsan?
Huh?
Where we heard Ihsan?
فأخبرني عن الإحسان. So inform me about ihsan. So the Prophet ﷺ says, it is to worship Allah as though you see Him. And if you cannot see Him, know that He sees you. What are we referring to? What hadith? This hadith is called Sunnah, the mother of the Sunnah. The entire of the Sunnah returns back to this hadith. What hadith is it? The hadith of Jibreel. The hadith of Jibreel. Good. So, ihsan, the Prophet ﷺ says, it is to worship Allah as though you see Him. If you were directly in front of Allah, if Allah removed the veil, and we could see Him in front of us, how would you be acting? Huh? You be in paradise, huh? Then, you do everything right, huh? Make sure that. Right? Dots over your I's, T's, make sure they cross, right? P's and Q's, right? Twos and fews.
Allah will reveal itself to you in paradise, right?
His face, yes. His face, yes. In accordance with the level of the deeds of the servant, right? On the day of resurrection, for the believers and in paradise, yes. But for others in paradise, it will continue in frequency up to every Friday. For those that reach that level of righteousness and reward, may Allah grant that to us. Good. So if your Lord was in front of you and you could see Him, you will be on your best. Yes? And when you are on your best, you become a beautiful person. You become beautiful and you extend your beauty to others. Inna Allah kataba al-ihsan ala kulli shay. Certainly Allah prescribed beauty for everything. He has prescribed perfection for everything. He has prescribed excellence for everything. This is the meaning of ihsan. Okay?
So
To worship Allah as though you see Him, and if you can't reach that level of acting as though you can see Him, you still know that He sees you, so you make sure you act accordingly. That's ihsan. When you reach the level of ihsan, for you, it's no longer about, is it wajib? Is it obligatory? Do I have to do that? So you saying it's haram? You saying I can't do that? That's not ihsan. That's not that level. All right? There are other levels. We don't want to go into that. But there are other levels, but that's not that level. All right? Ihsan, when you reach the level of beauty, of excellence, that's not your mindset. Your mindset is this. Is Allah pleased with it, or is He not pleased with it? You're not concerned about, is it encouraged, is it discouraged, is it obligatory, is it unlawful? Does Allah like it?
what the scholars say about it?
If Allah likes it, that's what I'm trying to do. Allah doesn't like that, I'm trying to stay away from that. That's ihsan. That's a level that's higher. It's above and beyond obligation. Okay? So for this person, not only will this person begin to excel in voluntary deeds, this person will be so concerned about staying away from what is unlawful, so concerned about staying away from what is displeasing to Allah, what is discouraged or disliked by Allah,
That's the key word right there.
that this person will begin to abstain from doubtful matters. He has doubt about it. It's ambiguous. Stay away. Even though in that ambiguity it may be permissible in reality, this person will still stay away. This person will reach a level where this person will begin to leave off some of the halal out of trying to escape the haram. That's ihsan. Does that make sense? And in that space, you begin to experience piety and spirituality in its true sense and nearness to Allah. We follow? So we're entering into a state of true God consciousness now. Right? This is what ihsan is and what it is about. Right? And we reach that by understanding Allah's names and His attributes. And in building our relationship with Him through His names and through His attributes. We saw a hand. What do we see a hand at?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what you were saying, right? Right before I started coming here,
Mm.
My situation and stuff. I dealt, I was sitting there and I was talking to a brother inside the office.
Okay.
Inside our little office. And I said, matter of fact, no, it was right before we was having a class.
Shake that with a lot of Go ahead.
I said, man, just ask him about stuff. I said, man, I asked him about, he said, Idris, let me tell you something. Right? It's just something you just said, right? Dealing with this issue. I said, I study and some things I don't quite understand.
Okay.
I said, but right now, so you get around the knowledge, he said, go with what you know is correct.
Right.
Stick to that.
Right.
You worry about learning that other stuff later, but right now you stick with the consistency of what you know, and then later on you get around somebody who have the knowledge, who really explain this other stuff to you,
Mm-hmm.
then you start to follow that.
Correct.
Because like, hey, blah, 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 then like you were saying, now this school of thought, that school of thought,
Right.
or they say, well, no, this is right here, but then you got to start understanding, like, what were the circumstances for these things that happen and stuff like that.
Correct.
And we not have that knowledge, it might have been just one instance where the Prophet saw some have, at this particular sunnah.
Mm-hmm.
They dealt with this particular thing.
Mhm.
And some brothers that just take it and keep using it over and over and over when this situation doesn't call for that.
Right.
And that's when, things start to
So we bring 2 points to mind. You bring 2 points to mind as we close. One, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. Whoever traverses a path seeking knowledge therein, Allah will make easy for this person a path to paradise. Okay? Now, whoever traverses a path seeking knowledge, that can be a physical path or a figurative path. It can be a physical way to go seek knowledge, you driving in your car, or you traveling to the other side of the world to seek knowledge. It can be figurative, meaning the means that you utilize to acquire that knowledge, whatever that may be for you, right? Whatever that may be for you. It may be a teacher, it may be devices, it may be your books, it may be whatever it is for you, audio recordings, whatever it is for you. Whoever traverses the path seeking knowledge therein, Allah will make easy for this person a path to paradise. Allah will make a path to paradise easy for this person. So all you need to do in order to get this reward is to be upon the path of knowledge. If you're upon the path of knowledge, Allah will facilitate paradise for you. The hadith does not stipulate that you have to get to a certain level of knowledge. You just have to be upon the path. That is what is most important. This person knows things that I don't. This person knows more than me. I know more than this person. Doesn't matter. Be upon the path. If you're upon the path, you get the reward. However far you get upon the path, between you and Allah. But be upon the path and die upon the path. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
So you've been in different degrees.
Correct. From another perspective, knowledge is said to have 3 levels. Different than we mentioned earlier. Or, as the statement says, knowledge has 3 handspans. The first level of knowledge is kibr, is arrogance. This is often when you may know that a person is fresh in their quest for knowledge. Because now they know certain things that others don't. You know, you get a little cocky, right? Think you're about something. You start smelling yourself, right? So that happens, okay? This is the first stage of knowledge. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it is quite frequent, okay? But you continue upon that path, and as you continue upon that path of knowledge, and you begin to embody the knowledge itself, you begin to understand some things. As the scholars would say, al-ilm huwa ibadatu sir wa salatu al-qalb. That knowledge, it is the inner worship. Knowledge is the spiritual worship. And it is the salah of the heart. It is the prayer of the heart. This is what knowledge is about.
That's the second level.
Not yet.
Okay.
This is what's going to lead us into the second level, this awareness that we're talking about.
Say it one more time.
Knowledge is the inner worship, and it is the salah, it is the prayer of the heart. So the more that one explores this knowledge and embodies it, then you become humble. Knowledge begins to humble you. This is the second level, second stage of growth in knowledge. You become humble. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. And above everyone that has knowledge is someone that is more knowledgeable than them. So you're humble. Regardless of what you think you know there are others that are mountains of knowledge in comparison to you. So you humble yourself. Even if you know some things in the realm of your own people or amongst your peers, or even if some of your teachers extol you to a degree. Where are you from al-Dhahabi? Where are you from Ibn Kathir? Where are you from Ibn Taymiyyah? Where are you from, al-Shafi'i? Ahmed bin Hanbal? Sufyan al-Thawri? Sufyan bin Uyayna? Where are you from them? You're nothing. You're nothing. So you humble yourself. Right? Even if others look up to you, you humble yourself. Humility. Good. Question? Yes. Yes. Khushu' gets into the people do translate it as humility, but it gets into your humbling yourself in front of Allah and your state of concentration and focus, right, within your prayer, for example. How present you are inside of the act of worship you are performing. Because sometimes we go through acts of worship and it's just mechanical, going through the motions. But you're khushu', you're involved in that act. You're present in that act spiritually. Does that make sense? Ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu anhu, he mentions, ليس العلم بكثرة الرواية وإنما العلم الخشية. Knowledge is not about spewing an abundance of narrations. So you can iterate this verse and you can say this hadith and you can do this and do that in abundance. You can quote things. Ibn Mas'ud says that's not knowledge. Knowledge is khashya. Knowledge is to be awe-inspired by Allah. You are in awe of your Lord because of the knowledge you possess. That's what knowledge is about. The knowledge that you are acquiring is about you building your relationship with Allah. That's why it's the inner worship and the prayer of the heart. This is what knowledge is actually about. To help you upon your path to get to paradise. Like the hadith mentions. That we mentioned earlier. The third level of knowledge, the third stage, interestingly enough, is al-jahl, is ignorance. You say, how is that? How is that? Once you enter into the third stage of knowledge, you realize that you don't know anything. You realize that knowledge is an ocean without any shores. And you realize how close to the shore you are. You spend 10, 15, 20, 30 years seeking knowledge. And then you feel like you're just putting your big toe, right, on the edge of the shore just to test the temperature or something like that. Right? So eventually, you don't know anything. And it becomes very easy for you to say, well, I don't know. R.E.D.A. I don't know. You may even get into a space where you might not even like to say Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. Because you may begin to feel and think that this is now you putting it on your Lord. And now you escaping your own ignorance. No, own that. I don't know. You see? It's permissible to say Allahu A'lam. Permissible to say Allah knows best. We're not saying it's not permissible. But yes, this is the case. The more you learn, the more you realize that you really don't know. So the case with Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, where he had a traveler that came from afar. And if memory serves, he traveled from continental Africa. And he comes to Medina to learn from Imam Malik. And he has a series of questions to ask Imam Malik. And close to 40 of the questions that he has for him, Imam Malik says, La adri, I don't know. And this is Imam Dar al-Hijrah. He is the great scholar of his time, space, and era. And it's like, well, how is that you don't know? And you are who you are. Right? But you realize you don't know. You don't know. And it may be an issue of uncertainty concerning a given matter, or because of your knowledge and you are so aware of the different perspectives on an issue and the different possibilities of issues. And then knowing that these different things that you know, you have to be able to properly appropriate it to the situation of the person that's asking the question. But maybe you don't know their whole situation. So that if you tell them this, it may cause a greater harm. So you're going through all of this. It's not just, okay, this is your question, this is what the verse says. This is your question, this is what the hadith says. This is your question, do this, don't do that. There are many other things to consider when you are disseminating knowledge. And if all those things are not in alignment for you, you may just say, I don't know. To absolve yourself of responsibility in front of Allah. You get into that space. You follow? هذا والله أعلم صلى الله عليه وسلم.